It happened in the middle of a crowded corporate lobby, the kind of place where men in sharp suits and women in high heels hurried past like time itself was chasing them. But in the middle of all that rush stood Daniel Hayes, a single dad in his second-hand jacket, clutching a stack of papers and glancing nervously at the clock. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was just a temporary janitor, filling in for a friend, trying to make a few extra dollars to cover his daughter's school fees. Yet somehow, fate had decided to throw him straight into the path of one of the most powerful men in the city. The billionaire CEO, Adrian Cole, was a tall, imposing man, the kind whose presence made people straighten their posture. His voice carried authority like it was a weapon. And that morning, his patience was clearly running thin. He stood by the reception desk, holding a leather-bound folder, speaking to his assistant in low, clipped tones. Then his eyes swept the room and landed on Daniel like a hawk spotting prey. Yes, you, Adrian called out, his voice cutting through the lobby noise. Daniel looked around, almost certain the CEO meant someone else. Can you translate this? Adrian held up a document covered in dense, foreign characters. It's urgent. If you can do it right, I'll double your pay for the day. Daniel froze. The letters on the page weren't random to him. They were Japanese, something he had learned years ago when he was stationed overseas in the Navy. He hadn't used the language in years, but the memory of those days, of the man he used to be before life got hard, still lived somewhere deep inside. I can try, Daniel said cautiously, stepping closer. The assistant gave him a doubtful look, like a janitor had no business touching such an important document. But Adrian's gaze didn't waver. He wanted results, not excuses. The first few lines came easier than Daniel expected. His mind remembered the rhythm, the subtle meanings hidden behind certain phrases. But then he reached a section filled with legal and business terms that tested every ounce of his focus. Sweat gathered on his forehead. He could feel people watching. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he thought about his daughter, Emily, who was waiting for him to pick her up after school. He thought about the overdue bills on his kitchen counter, the unopened letter from the landlord. If he failed now, it wouldn't just be embarrassing, it would be a lost chance he could never get back. Halfway through, Adrian interrupted. Are you sure about that line? It sounds too casual. Daniel didn't flinch. In Japanese, direct translations can sound cold. This phrasing shows respect without sounding robotic. It'll make them more open to your proposal. Something flickered in Adrian's eyes, recognition, maybe even admiration. He stepped back and let Daniel continue. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, until finally, Daniel placed the finished translation on the desk. Adrian read it silently, his expression unreadable. Then the CEO closed the folder with a decisive snap. Perfect, he said simply. Better than my usual translator. He pulled out his phone, tapped a few buttons, and then handed Daniel an envelope so thick it barely closed. Double pay, as promised. And consider this, if you want a permanent job here, my assistant will schedule an interview. Daniel blinked. A permanent job? With benefits? That was something he hadn't dared to dream about in years. He stammered a thank you, clutching the envelope like it was the key to a new life. But just as he was about to leave, Adrian added, "Why are you doing janitorial work if you have this skill?" Daniel hesitated, then said quietly, "Because being a dad comes first. I needed something flexible to take care of my daughter. Everything else had to wait." For the first time, Adrian's face softened. "Bring her to the interview. I like to know the families of the people I hire." That night, Daniel sat across from Emily at their tiny kitchen table. She was beaming as she counted the bills from the envelope. "Dad, this is more money than we've ever had at once." Daniel smiled, ruffling her hair. "It's not just about the money, kiddo. Sometimes, life gives you one moment to prove who you really are. Today was mine." Emily's eyes sparkled. "You mean, you're going to get a new job?" "Not just a job," Daniel said. "A chance. And I'm going to take it, for both of us." The story spread quietly through the building. Employees whispered about the janitor who'd impressed the CEO. But for Daniel, the real victory wasn't the money or even the job offer, it was showing Emily that no matter how far life knocked you down, one act of courage could turn it all around. So if you're watching this right now, remember, your skills, your worth, they don't disappear just because life changes. Keep them ready. Your moment will come, and when it does, take it without hesitation. And if this story inspired you, hit that like button, share it, and subscribe for more stories that remind us second chances are real, and they might be just one bold decision away. People rushed in and out of the gleaming glass doors of coal industries, heads down, eyes glued to screens, chasing deadlines as if the world would end if they didn't. But in the middle of that high-speed current stood Daniel Hayes, awkward, out of place, wearing a second-hand jacket that didn't quite fit. His hands were rough from years of manual work, and his face carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had lived more than one lifetime's worth of battles. He wasn't there to impress anyone. He was just covering a janitorial shift for a friend who was sick, hoping the extra cash would help cover his daughter's overdue school fees. Emily was only 9, but she'd already learned to hide her disappointment when her dad said maybe next month to things she wanted. Daniel hated that look in her eyes more than anything in the world. The elevator dinged, and that's when Daniel first saw him. Adrian Cole. The billionaire CEO was everything Daniel wasn't, commanding, sharp-dressed, radiating authority like it was stitched into the fabric of his suit. His voice carried across the lobby as he barked into his phone, switching between English and another language so seamlessly that even the receptionist barely followed along. He ended the call abruptly, turned, and locked eyes with Daniel. "You," Adrian said. Just that one word, but it landed like a command. Daniel almost pointed at himself, unsure. "Me?" "Yes. Come here." Adrian was holding a leather-bound folder, its golden boss logo catching the morning light. He flipped it open to reveal pages filled with intricate Japanese characters. "I need this translated. Now. If you can do it, I'll double your pay for the day." The lobby seemed to pause. A couple of employees stopped mid-stride, curiosity flickering in their eyes. The billionaire CEO asking the janitor for a translation? Daniel stepped closer, scanning the page. The characters weren't alien to him. Years ago, when he served in the Navy, he had been stationed in Japan. He had learned the language not just from textbooks, but from the people, the culture, the moments in smoky ramen shops and late-night markets. It had been a lifetime ago, before his wife left, before Emily became his whole world. "I can do it," Daniel said quietly. Adrian arched a brow. "Then start." The translation began easily enough, formal greetings, polite business phrases, but soon the text shifted into dense legal terms. Words that demanded precision, where the wrong nuance could turn a deal into an insult. Daniel's pulse quickened. He forced himself to slow down, to recall the hours he once spent perfecting his understanding of subtle linguistic differences. Halfway through, Adrian stopped him. "That sentence. Why not translate it literally?" "Because in Japanese, a literal translation sounds blunt, borderline rude," Daniel explained. "This version keeps the respect your company's trying to show." For the first time, Adrian's gaze softened, as if he recognized Daniel wasn't guessing, he knew. Minutes bled together. By the time Daniel finished, a fine sheen of sweat clung to his forehead. He placed the translated pages on the desk and stepped back. Adrian read them in silence. The CEO's lips curved, not quite a smile, but close. "Better than my usual translator." He pulled an envelope from his briefcase and slid it across the counter. It was thick, heavy. "Double pay, as promised. And, if you want more than a day's work, my assistant will schedule you for a real interview." Daniel stared at the envelope like it might vanish. "Thank you, sir." Adrian tilted his head. "Why are you working as a janitor?" Daniel hesitated. "Because my daughter needs me. I needed work that let me be there for her. Everything else had to wait." Something shifted in Adrian's expression, something human. "Bring her to the interview. I like to know who I'm investing in." That night, Daniel laid the envelope on the kitchen table. Emily's eyes went wide as she pulled out the bills. "Dad, this is more than we've ever had." He smiled. It's not just money, Em.